Hey there, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Ryan Lord Official Podcast. Today, we have yet another very special guest. I've actually been trying to get him on the podcast for a while now, but we've, both had very busy schedules. So, Pierre, I'm going to allow you to introduce yourself, let the audience know who exactly you are, what exactly it is that you do, and then we'll go from there.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you very much for having me, Ryan. Yeah, I was a bit back and forth trying to get our agenda or our sort of our schedules to
Yeah.
to meet. So yeah, just to kind of introduce myself, my name is Pierre Coombs. I'm founder and managing director of a company called Big Wolf Marketing, which is a group of the posh way of saying it, I guess, would be client acquisition agencies. So we help customers to get clients through lead generation, mostly sort of telemarketing, so for sort of cold calling, appointment setting, and lead generation that way. We've worked with literally thousands of companies now over the last decade, from small startups all the way through to sort of global brands. And yeah, we've created billions of pounds worth of client opportunities, in terms of sort of sales appointments and everything. If we put it down to sort of a monetary respect, we've done some sort of calculations to work out the types of opportunities that we've created over the last decade. And yeah, I mean, our sort of our main reason for being is to help businesses flourish and to help drive new customers, new business, and we sort of connect the dots or cross the T's and dot the I's for companies. And sales, it's one of those things. I always say it's a little bit like coffee or like water. It's one of those things that would everybody needs. Everything in this world at some point has been sold, from the carpet beneath me to the paint on the walls. Everything has been sold, and so selling is probably the oldest industry of all time. Before kind of trading one thing for another, sales come into play, and obviously technology and everything's moved that along, and we're very much at the cutting edge of that. But yeah, as an agency, or a group of agencies rather, that's exactly what we do. We help with the sort of the business development and lead generation side of things.
That's super, super cool. And as I noticed, as soon as we jumped on this call that we're both wearing headsets, very similar
Yeah,
ones as well. And
the
anyone
top spec. Yeah, it's yeah, noise cancellation, and I think the red and black is kind of cool as well, isn't it? But yeah, we both are pretty much ready to make calls, right?
yeah, exactly. Funny enough, like I actually used to work in telemarketing myself. So I actually got this after working at one of the companies. I just picked up exactly the same headset that I used to use there. And it's actually worked a lot better than the wireless headset that I used to use, because the wireless headset that I used to use, that was actually more expensive than this. Sometimes I feel like the audio quality wasn't actually as good as the wired headset.
Yeah, I mean Platronics, the same brand as this, I
Yeah,
think.
same.
I had the wireless one, and it feels really comfortable, and you feel like Tom Cruise in that movie where he goes, "It's all about the money" or whatever he says.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a bit of a sort of an '80s fad of when you see these movies and salespeople are walking around the office with these, but in reality, the wireless ones, like you say, they're just not as good. It's a little bit like wireless mouses. I've got a wireless mouse, but sometimes I stick with wired ones, because either the batteries go at a
Yeah,
time when you're just about to go on a Zoom or something,
yeah.
and yeah, sometimes the old technology is the best.
A hundred percent. You're right there. And look, I've actually got my wireless mouse as well. So I guess for anyone watching, the salesperson starter pack is a Plantronics
Mm,
mic and a wireless mouse. So
definitely.
so let's talk a little bit more about your actual background then, like,
Mm.
explain to the viewers more about your background. So maybe, take it right back to where you grew up, and then, kind of your educational journey, and then, your career and what actually led you into starting this agency.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, my sort of background, I guess I come from sort of a sort of a middle class sort of family, but kind of always with sort of like, at the very beginning, very kind of working class in some senses. Like my parents and my grandparents have always been in sort of like the motor trade, so they've been
Right.
car dealers. So
Yeah.
I guess sales is kind of entwined in
Yeah.
that.
It's in your blood.
Yeah, exactly. But very, very much of that sort of hustler mentality,
Yeah.
kind of about making money, very entrepreneurial. So while kind of I was in that sort of middle class, I went to a naval college,
Right.
Pangbourne College. It's sort of a private college, but it's a sort of military one. So I kind of, both my dad and my granddad, they're very entrepreneurial and very kind of hard working. So we've while we're sort of very much kind of middle class in many senses, because obviously the financial aspect of what they were doing, it comes from a sort of real sort of working hard, sort of grinding on sort of what you need to do, making the money, having the aspirations, wanting to live above, and having that sort of vision. Maybe it's seeing, I mean, back in the day it would have been looking at the movies where people on yachts and all this kind of thing. That would have been what was inspiring them. And the Miami Vice of the time when they're driving Ferraris and stuff like that, and they aspired for that life, and they got that. And I'm very lucky that I went to a really great college. But saying that, even though I went to a really good college and it was very institutional, I was quite kind of in my teens. I was a little bit, what's the word? I was kind of against the grain, and I probably didn't make the most of the good opportunity that I had. I wasn't really into my education as such, and so it's only really since leaving, and I left at, I think I was 17 when I left, and I didn't do sort of A levels, I just did GCSEs, so I left early, just because I kind of went against education in the sense of, kind of being a teen and sort of think, oh, I just want to go out and make money type thing. So I had that drive in me, obviously from my parents and everything. And yeah, it's since leaving, leaving college and getting into the real world, which I've realized, education does stand for a lot. And there's a famous saying, I'm going to completely mess it up, but it's I think there's something along the lines of, and you'll probably find the quote and be able to actually say it properly later, but education will give you a career, but self-education will make you a fortune. I can't remember who said it, but it's such a good quote. And so since leaving college, I sort of set up a website design company. Initially, was the first thing that I did to try and sort of dabble in being an entrepreneur. Didn't quite work. I then sort of thought I'd be a pop star for a little while and had a little bit of fun doing that. And it was a bit of a tangent off in my life. But sort of between doing my sort of music, which was a bit kind of cheesy, I did sales, because sales,
Wow.
unfortunately, it's one of those things that it's kind of the fallback of anybody with a bit of personality that kind of can't do anything else, right? You kind of
Yeah.
go into sales.
Yeah.
And you sort of very quickly realize, hey, this is hard, right? So
Yeah.
I went and worked. I sort of blagged a job in London, in sort of an agency, and it was all email marketing and everything. And yeah, sort of blagged the job, and I was with really, really good salespeople, and I went in there just without any sales experience whatsoever, and very quickly, you make a couple mates, and they sort of say, hey, look, you should maybe be saying this, maybe be doing this. And there's a couple people now that I used to work with who are really sort of high flyers in their life. But I met them at the point of first getting into my sales career, and yeah, I did okay. I was really, really bad when I first started because I had the personality, but I just did, and I know sort of how to work with objections and stuff, but you don't know what to say. It's not structured. You don't have any kind of methods or anything, and so you're just winging it. But I mean, really, sales to some degree, is about personality, and it is about winging it to a degree, because I mean, if you're just reading from a script, as we kind of said before, and just before this kind of started, we were saying, you don't want to be robotic in terms of reading a script, when it comes to sales, when it comes to anything. And so yeah, I did that, and then sales job to sales job, I sold, I mean, I sold pretty much everything. I even did, at one point I did sort of door to door. I did, but most of it was was on the phone.
Right.
And so I went from one company to the next company, and I I was really, I was still young in my mind, and I kind of, I was more focused on having a good time as opposed to really kind of being career focused. So I did go from one sales role to another, to another, to another, and then I went and worked for a telemarketing company. So, they didn't sell just one thing; they sold for lots and lots of clients. And
Right.
that's where I got excited because, one week you're selling this and then another week you're selling that. So it takes a certain type of person. You've got to be really dynamic to be able to switch things up, to think differently, to think different markets, different verticals. And I worked myself up from being sort of a freelance telemarketer all the way to being sort of the right-hand man of the managing director. And it got to a point where I got promoted, and then I was pretty much the right hand man of the managing director, and everybody around me. I kind of felt great. It was a great sort of the political aspect of it within a company is really good. And then one of the clients came to me, who I'd worked with sort of at the agency, and I kind of didn't really have a contract that didn't have sort of like a you can't work with this type person, and I made sure to look into that. And they said, hey, look, Pierre, can you come to London? I loved London, and I wanted to get back into London, not Basingstoke or Reading. And will you set up an office for you? Will you be sort of the head of sales? You set up a sales office and sort of train people. It's a 3-month contract. I kind of negotiated. It was a sort of a month or two, and they said, okay, you're asking a lot, but come and do this. And if we can negotiate for you to kind of stay on board and kind of run it ongoing, then that's great. If not, set it up and help us to kind of do it, because the person, the head of sales, the sales director of the overall company knew what I was like. And so he knew I was kind of, one thing would take my interest and then another. And I was quite entrepreneurial. So he kind of knew. So he gave me that opportunity to do that. I did that, really kind of loved it. I didn't really want to kind of stay with it because, while I love London, I've got kind of a love-hate relationship with London. Kind of sometimes you get burnt out, it's like the getting the tube every day, or unless you're making mega money in London, it's always going to burn you out
Yeah.
because you could, if you're making mega money, you just jump in an Uber,
Yeah.
otherwise you got to get on the tube, and just things start to grind you down. So I got to a point where it kind of ended, didn't sort of negotiate to kind of stay on, and I went back to my parents' house in Reading. And I thought, oh God, what am I going to do now? My dad's sort of like saying, hey, look, if you don't do something soon, I'm going to kick you out because,
Yeah.
I don't want you just being a bum at home type thing. And
Yeah.
one of my friends, Roy, he was a friend from music. He said, listen, I've got a co-working space where I work in Reading. Come into the office every single day for a month and just get your head down, and I know you'll come up with something. So I did that, and literally within a couple of days, I was like, hey, it just completely makes sense just to make a telemarketing company, right? Because
Yeah.
that's kind of what I'd just done. I know how to sell.
Yeah.
And so I thought, yeah, okay. And that was when all these kind of freelancing websites were starting up. And I got all of those, and started as a freelancer, sort of booking campaigns in, doing telemarketing campaigns for different companies. And it sort of grew from there. And then sort of over the last decade, we've just sort of grown it out. And a couple years in, it's going successful. We've got an office in London, and my friend James, who I went to school with rather. He was kind of the opposite to me at school. He was really kind of educational, very very intelligent. Not saying I'm not intelligent, but like kind of different sort of intelligence, or kind of different ways of thinking maybe. He was very kind of granular. Like he was really good with with textbooks and stuff, and I just didn't want to think about that kind of stuff. And he said to me, he said, hey, look, and he worked with me for a little while, and he said, listen, I'm going to Australia. I want to do this as well. And it really works. It makes sense as a business model. And then he kind of took the brand, and he owns Big Wolf Marketing in Australia. He's been really successful, completely separately owned, but same sort of business model. And then we've since I've kind of seen that it works in a different country, we opened Big Wolf Marketing Ireland. We've got Big Wolf Marketing America. We do campaigns internationally as well now. So it's really interesting. It's a business model that that works. It's it is kind of, if I'm completely honest, to some degree, I guess it's on a downward spiral because of technology. It's like you've got digital marketing, which everybody seems to be on the buzz of at the moment, and social media and everything. But oddly, no. I mean that's the the way that things are going now. But in terms of telemarketing, like I say, sales, it's always going to be about personality. You're never going to get, well, I say never, I'll probably be quoted on this, but ChatGPT isn't just going to turn into a voice bot tomorrow and sort of take over telemarketing. And even if it does, you know, at the moment now, if anybody wants to write anything, they go to ChatGPT, right? But there's still content writers. There's still people kind of doing what they do and they do it best, and still they've got that edge on ChatGPT. And even though you've got the likes of Elon Musk saying, ChatGPT is now more intelligent than anybody in the world, type thing, other than him, probably.
Yeah.
Um, it's telemarketing is one of those ones where it's about building relationships. It's about creating opportunities, and it's always going to be a people orientated business. Selling is always going to be people orientated. Even when you've got technology taking over, they're trying to emulate people, right?
Yeah.
So ultimately the jobs are going to change, and be people like me, rather than us, our team making the calls, will be probably training bots or making them more personalized or
Yeah.
something. So we're fully open to going with the future. But yeah, sorry, I got off on a tangent,
No,
so I
no,
hope
no,
I
no. I
haven't.
love it. I love it. I love it. I just wanted to ask. So obviously I just changed the speaker's view. So you predominantly saw yourself on camera, right? When you was talking.
Okay. Yeah, I
Yeah.
see you both. See you and myself, I think, but I'm probably looking
Oh,
all over the screen. Yeah.
oh, right, right, right. Okay, like that's weird because I literally just changed the speaker's view, but it's fine. I'll sort that out in editing. So like that's really really interesting. I just want to obviously say shout out to Roy and to is it James or Jamie?
James, yeah, James in Australia. Yeah, he runs a Big Wolf Marketing there, and owns it there. And yeah, he's doing amazing. So if you're an Australian company, or you're sort of in that area, reach out to him. And yeah, he's they're doing an amazing job. Really, really good.
That's super cool. And then like in regards to most people that will be tuned into this channel, a lot of them would like to know about the revenue aspect of your business. Now, I saw online, I don't know if this is if this is correct, but it said online that it was in an article or something that your business was turning over 6 million a year. Is that correct or is that
I I wouldn't want to go necessarily into the numbers, but yeah,
right?
we do. Yeah, we're kind of, the, yeah, it's of those kind of numbers, but I wouldn't want to kind of go completely on numbers, because yeah, when you kind of get really granular on numbers and stuff, people, yeah, it's yeah, but there's a lot of money to be made in marketing, and yeah, it's interesting where a lot of these places get the numbers from, because you're like, oh, how do they know this? How do they know,
Yeah.
and yeah, you get like credit checking things, and and it will say, oh yeah, like this is 20 million. You're like, what? but
Yeah.
but no, it's yeah. I mean, without kind of getting too sort of granular into the money, there's a lot of money in in marketing and telemarketing and digital marketing, because it's when you're helping someone to solve a problem, which ultimately we are, because we're helping them to generate business, and without any business, they don't have a business. I think that's where you add value is where you can make money. And it's interesting actually, because I saw something recently. I mean, I'm doing well with my agencies and everything like that, but of course, kind of there's always that sort of view of wanting to be greater and better and bigger, and kind of my goal would always wanting to be a sort of a billionaire ultimately. And kind of I try to, everybody kind of wants to go up the steps, right? And
Yeah.
so if you're not at the position where someone else is at the moment, you want to learn from them. If they're not where they want to be, and it's so I kind of did a lot of digging, and I was thinking, what is the next big idea? How do I sort of take what we're doing at the moment and make it a 1 billion-pound company, or how do we do? And ultimately, I kind of what I sort of researched, what I found is that ultimately, to make a lot of money, to be in the, making the hundreds of millions, making the billions, you've got to affect hundreds of millions or billions of people's lives. So ultimately, what we do to some degree, really is affecting a lot of people's lives. The business owners, the people working within those companies. But yeah, it's always about working out, bless you, how
Thank you.
you can get one bigger. And so yeah, so I think what the success that we have from a monetary perspective, which I guess it's out there in some websites and things like that, it's a reflection of the value that we add, to companies. And so my view of how to move forward is always about thinking, how can we give more to our customers? Not thinking about, how can we be expensive, how can we get the most money, but it's actually being focused on how can we give more, how can we do more, how can we be more valuable. And a lot of telemarketing agencies, they'll be thinking about, how do we get the most of money from this client? Should we use a pricing structure that isn't based around day rates? Shall we just say, we want this, or shall we go so high ticket that they just think we're amazing? But for us, we go the other way in many respects. I mean, we have a day rate, but what we tend to do is we tend to focus on adding value as a sort of the main driving force of the business. I mean, you've got the likes of who's the Amazon guy? It's so stupid, I forgot his name. But with Amazon, Jeff Bezos, his number one above anything is the customer and what they want. And so they've got this, they operate, I believe that, from what I have seen, this kind of flywheel of constantly sort of adding feedback in to give the customer the best experience. And so again, I've gone off on a tangent and apologies about that, but talking money, it's just, for me, it's not about money. I mean, it's obviously great to enjoy things and to be able to do something that you enjoy doing, and for that to be able to create money to a point where you can go to the shops and not worry about, can I afford this, can I afford that? You just do your shopping without even thinking about it, right? And I guess when you're in the billionaire realms, you go car shopping and you don't even think about what you put in your cart. But yeah, so it's not about the numbers so much for me. It's about how many companies we can help, and then you just look back and you realize, actually, in doing that, in helping those companies achieve those goals, we've made good money. So that's sort of the message, and that's the way that I think about money. And I'm kind of old school, I guess. I kind of, when you like my dad and my granddad and everything like that, obviously they're constantly focused on success, but and now a lot of people like to be kind of leery and kind of, this is what I got, this way. But for me, it's about being humble, about kind of being on your grind. Don't be about being flashy, kind of, mind your kind of own business, and also kind of say to people, if they say, wow, you're doing really well, you say, well, I'm doing okay. It's
Yeah.
like it's where you've
Yeah.
got people like Andrew Tate and stuff, and they're just like, hey man, what color's your Bugatti and stuff,
Yeah.
whereas it's about like, what cars you got? Yeah, never mind, I've got my private collection.
Yeah.
Why do you always have to tell everybody? Because
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying he hasn't got what he's got, but I mean, in many respects, most people that kind of want to shout about what they've got, they don't really have it, or you see what I mean. So I
Yeah.
kind of like, it's humble's always the way forward in terms of sort of finances, and just, it's about adding value as opposed to just thinking about adding value to yourself. And I think that's what makes the most successful companies, certainly in the marketing realm.
100%. Like that's really, really interesting. And I guess, like what I've been seeing a lot of recently, and you probably the same, is especially on LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn is turning into this guru type platform, right? Where you have all of these people popping up left, right, and center. They're promoting their newsletters, they're promoting different courses. So for somebody that's actually, a success in, the world of sales, in the world of having an agency, I guess, my question to you would be, have you thought of selling courses, or why haven't you then gone into selling courses? Because you're an actual success. And what I've found is a lot of people that are selling these courses, they've never actually worked in an industry before. Like they might create some kind of page for their marketing agency, and all of a sudden they label themselves as a guru, and then they start selling the courses. But if you actually look into the numbers and the financials behind that business is actually making zero, and most of the money comes from their coaching business. So yeah.
Yeah, so I've got a bit of a love-hate relationship with these types of people, because, undoubtedly they're sort of inspiring people, and entrepreneurs need to be inspired. They have good times, bad times, and stuff like that. But like you say, a lot of people, they pretend to have these things. They rent the car, they rent the house, they do the videos, and they're trying to sell something that there isn't always a lot of substance behind. Although there are some, which inevitably I'm sure have had successes and then sort of want to leverage off of that. I mean, ultimately, it sort of makes sense to perhaps not be in the sort of the servicing side of things and to teach, because ultimately, you're selling something that is a legitimate business, and there's a lot of learning behind, and people want to do it, and it's probably the easiest way to leverage your time, because rather than selling your time, you're selling these courses and everything like that. But ultimately, it's probably only going to be, I mean, again, I'm sort of picking numbers out, but I'm assuming 1% or 10% will do these courses and then actually have a really successful business. So undoubtedly, it's they're kind of gurus, and there is some value in that. I mean, undoubtedly, I mean, you could liken it to there's a whole big discussion kind of on this in online, with regards to actual traditional education like universities and stuff, and like a lot of these gurus come back and they say, well, hey, listen, I'm selling a course, but I've got a very direct route, and this is a business. And if you do apply these methods and you do this, then it is a business. Whereas education, unless you're going after, unless you're looking to be a doctor as such, or you're looking to be a lawyer, if you're just doing sort of, maybe, I don't know, like a hospitality degree or something where you could go into hospitality anyway. There's so many degrees and stuff out there, that it's as much of a scam as any of these kind of courses. It is and it isn't, because they're in the business of educating, but it serves no purpose. So I mean, I'm all for education. I mean, I never have been massively successful in an educational institution, and obviously I finished after GCSEs. But I mean, I believe if you're passionate, if you want to kind of go into something, I mean, if you want to, like English literature, for example, it makes sense. I mean, you might not have a career path with it or whatever, but there's so many of these things that it's a different case for every individual. So if you want to be an entrepreneur, if you want to set up a marketing business, and there's a guru who says to have done it, and they might be sort of kind of faking it a little bit to kind of show the success of everything, but it's so long as there's substance to the course, and if they offer like a money back guarantee, I guess that's a good thing. But if you do want to do that, do it, follow it, and maybe you can have a business. And I think that's fairness. I think that's fair. I mean, if it's completely terrible, the course, then I guess that's a scam. And the question, have I thought about making courses? I mean, never so much as to sort of teach people to make a marketing business, because I just think there's so many out there now. Do you know what I mean? And the ones that have done well, have done well, and they're the big sort of leaders. But I mean, I think there's real value in teaching people how to sell. And one of the things that we have inevitably within our business has always been the challenge of finding great people, because what we do is we sell results. We sell people. So that sounds wrong. We sell people. No, but we sell people's personalities effectively, right? But they have to be able to back it up. They have to be able to create the results and do what they do. So a challenge for me is, do we get new people and then have to do all the training, which is really kind of long-winded. I'm passionate about it. I love sales. And I do that. But what makes a lot more sense sometimes is to pay people better and to find people that are already experienced and already can sell, right? And I've always thought, well, maybe I should bridge the middle and actually create a sales course that sort of helps get people to a point of being able to do the pre-sales. Because what we do as an agency is we do pre-sales. So we set up appointments, we generate leads, we do the initial discovery phase, and then sort of pass that warm pipeline on to businesses. So what I need to teach people is the skill set of how do you set an appointment, how do you qualify a lead, what do you send when they ask for an email, all these kind of sales aspects. And so I've really thought, and I've really wanted to put a course together, on sort of sales training, telesales training, as a key vertical. And I think it'd be commercially viable, but the main leader behind it for me is actually to use it for my own team. So and also, just to kind of get back to the whole guru thing, one thing I always think is, if you're so successful with your agency, double down, man. Don't spend like an eternity creating a course and everything like that. And they might say, oh, it's to leverage it. But if you're so good, if there's so much opportunity, right, which is what they sell. Oh, everybody's got so many niches. There's so many people in the industry. There's so many companies. Blah blah blah. Well, if there is so much, just grow your business into the next Facebook of marketing, right? And so that's my only argument for this, right? But then I guess it makes sense. It's easier. It's an easier business model in itself to be a guru these days, right, than to actually run a marketing company. So yeah, I see I just never want to do that because and not only that, when you take your foot off the pedal with your actual business, how can your clients take you seriously if you're then spending all your time teaching people how to do the marketing stuff? I don't know. It's an interesting one. I find it interesting. Do you know, I'd be honest, I even watch some of these people just, when I'm sort of chilling, I don't tend to watch TV. I tend to watch YouTube. And of course, a lot of this stuff comes into my feed because I'm in marketing, right? And I agree and I disagree with some. And sometimes I'm having a down day and I'm thinking, hey, yeah, I would let me inspire myself type thing. And you've got people that are digital marketing and yet they're saying, hey, let me teach you about telesales. I'm thinking, well, and then I watch some and I think, actually, yeah, not bad, not bad. They can pitch, they know what they're talking about, So it's interesting one, yeah. But it's like I say, it's a love-hate relationship. I think there'll always be gurus out there, and yeah, it's interesting. But I mean, like I say, I find it interesting, but I've got that love-hate relationship with it. Whether I would advise people to kind of go for it or not go for it, I mean, it would probably be the same as to whether I'd advise someone to go to university for a certain degree, So I think there's you just have to weigh everything up, I think.
That's really, really interesting. So in regards to the actual process of your business, right? It sounds like to me you have an appointment setting agency. Am I right? Am I right to say that?
Yeah, we're a lead generation company, but what we do is lead generation appointment setting. I mean, we kind of get prospects from sort of cold to, oh, okay, yeah, we're interested. Let me know more. That kind of place. So yeah, that's exactly what we do.
That's like another industry right now that people are coming for, by the way.
Yeah,
Second to
yeah.
social media marketing
Mm.
agency, they're actually going for what they call appointment setting agencies. So like what does like the actual structure look like? So I've seen some of your day rates, but I'll allow you to explain to the audience, like more about the pricing, the actual structure, the type of clients that you work with, yeah, like that's really interesting to me and just anyone else that is looking to get into a similar industry like this is to actually know how it's structured and the type of market they should be working with.
Mhm. Yeah, so pricing, it's a strange one, and we sort of touched on it at the beginning. You get some companies these days, and a lot of the new ones, then they'll say, "Hey, look, let's just work on a cost per appointment basis," and it just doesn't work, right? And there's many reasons why it doesn't work. Number one, they just want to get you in with anybody, right? Because they just want to book an appointment, so they'll book you in with a cleaner, you know, anybody that will say yes type thing. And also, what you don't get with that, most of the time at least, is you don't get the pipeline. You don't get the people that want the request for information. You just get the appointments. Um, and with us, we charge a standard day rate. We don't believe in charging setup fees because that's a bit of a con really because you're going to set the campaign up anyway, right? And management fees, all these kind of things. We stick with a standard day rate, which is 275 at the moment. It is going to change because obviously everything's going up in the world, and as the demand's coming more on us and our availability is less, we can put our prices up and be a bit of a premium. I think there are slightly cheaper agencies to us out there, inevitably, but time in time out, people will come back to us when before they've said, "Oh, actually, you're a bit too expensive." Okay, no, that's great. No, if that's your only objection, that's fantastic. And they always come back, and I say to them, hey, if price is your thing, I'm sure you can go out there and speak to agencies who, can offer you a better price, and you can see how that goes. And I don't do that in a passive aggressive way. I'm just generally, we have so much. I'm very fortunate to have a lot of inquiries. I do a lot of quote calls with people, and so we don't have to have a lot of movement in terms of our price. Very, very occasionally, if I see there's a really good company, I know it can work for them, and I just want to kind of prove it to them, I'll say, listen, we'll do a slightly cheaper rate just because if price is the only thing for you, we'll do a slight but once we've proven the results for you, then we're back up to the standard day rate. And yeah, that works. But our standard day rate at the moment is 275. We have a sort of a minimum of 10 days that we do, and again, we're probably going to change that to 20 days soon, just because there's a lot that goes into getting ready for a campaign, doing the briefing, making sure you got the right data, making sure you've got every variable right to create the right results. So it makes sense for people's commitment to us to be more than 10 days, but at the moment it is 10 days, and that's probably the shortest window of time that gives them a good optimum sort of window of opportunity to kind of see the results that will come, and see a potential tangible return on investment, if they're high ticket. Of course, every single campaign is different, because it depends how high ticket, what market they're in. There's so many different variables for it to work with them. Some companies where it's a huge high ticket product, like if it's something like renewable energy, for example, and it's you're talking big money in terms of high ticket acquisitions from companies. There's going to be it's a bit more of an emotional sell for people. If you've got to make the decision to buy something that could cost a couple £1 million, you want to have been not wined and dined necessarily. That's very American. They wine and dine people in America for business. I'm sure they do in the UK, but it's not the norm as such. But they want to feel like you've danced with them a bit. If you're, and it sounds cheesy, and it probably takes people back to the Fast Show, but he would say, it's very much like making love to a beautiful woman. You have to dance with her before. You see, and clients are like that. You kind of I joke, and that's probably really out of date these days, but you have to make people feel heard. You have to make people feel special, and you have to understand what's important for them, the emotions of it, and they want to dance with you. They want to come back. They want to give you objections. They want to feel that you completely understand what they're trying to buy, and that you've got the right solution for them. So for some business types, the more high ticket, the more goes into sales. It's a slightly slower process. There's perhaps less leads, less appointments, because you need to be really thorough and make sure that you're getting it right. And yeah, there can be, we call it in the industry, hand holding. You need to take them along the line and sort of take them through every aspect of it. And it's I feel sorry for a lot of these people in procurement in massive companies. It's their job. If they make a mistake, it's a big problem. So for us as salespeople, it's so important that we do it right, we do it ethically, and we convey the value effectively. And it doesn't make sense to do anything different. So again, I went off on a tangent. I apologize. I don't know where we even started with that, but hopefully I've answered the question.
No,
Pricing,
you
I
did.
think.
Yeah. No, you did. I love it. And yeah, it was around pricing, and also just the overall structure of the model. But then when it comes to industries, obviously, it sounds like you don't have a specific industry, right? So what would you say to people that are starting out their own agencies? Like, do you think niching down is important? And like, how comes for your agency, for example, that you guys haven't niche down?
Yeah, so it's an interesting argument, niching down, because it can make sense. It really depends on what you do. So one thing where we've kind of niched down, I guess it's not really a niche down, it's the kind of the way that we work. We don't do business to consumer, so we only do B2B. So it's companies selling to other companies effectively. But I agree, when you get really, really niche, you can really look at the problems that they have, the challenges they have, and how you can sort of add value to that. I mean, just being completely honest, I mean, we find there's a lot of areas that come back to us time on and time again. Things like accountants, for example. We have things like commercial cleaning companies. We have a lot of sort of renewable energy, for example. We've probably got about 20 different verticals that we work with a lot of the time. When you break it down into sectors, and then even verticals, and then size of company, I mean, a lot of companies, there's so many startups out there. So straight away, when you get in touch with people, if it's just a one person with a dream, it's not really a business. So you can already discount a lot of companies just through being that, right? So when you get really, really niche, you're just making your market smaller. I guess where it does work from a startup perspective is if you've worked with, let's say, your digital marketing company, and you work with, I don't know, like an aesthetics company, so they do things like Botox and things like that. If you can go to another company doing the same thing in a different area and say, hey, look, this is what we've done. This is the case study. That's where the strength is for niching down, is having case studies, is having, because what really sells, ultimately, what really, really, really sells these days is social proof. Because we live in a world where the best way to sell something is to see what someone else has done, or to see how it's working for someone else. It takes that emotional thing away, and it just creates instant sort of rapport and trust. So I would say that the biggest reason to niche down is just that. It allows you to grow quicker, but then I would say very quickly you would need to then start having other niches. So if you're doing aesthetics as one thing, you might have then chiropractors. It's very close. It's maybe within the same sector, different vertical, but and so you can branch out that way, and then you can sort of put all the sort of verticals together and say, okay, we're a healthcare marketing company. But I mean, I would never like to, if I was starting out again today, I wouldn't want to niche myself in. And certainly, just as a bit of advice, I would never tell anybody to get their niche within their URL, for example, unless they really want to just be niche. But I think that's a mistake, because being a marketing person, whether it comes to email marketing, any kind of marketing, you always want to sort of A/B test anyway, right? So you never want to just say, I'll just do one sector. You should always have another sector as well. So yeah, I think while there's a lot of strength in having experience in a vertical, and people really appreciate that and respect that, I would never sort of say just do this niche. I think it's always wise to keep your options open. Because so many businesses pivot, don't they? I mean, for example, and things change outside of your kind of command, right? So you've got Netflix, for example. I remember, I'm old enough. I don't know about yourself. I'm old enough to remember when Netflix used to send you like CDs, right, in the
Yeah.
post, or DVDs, yeah. And now they started like that, and now it's all online, and and so many businesses, unless you can pivot, and you can be adaptable, then you don't necessarily kind of have a business. So yeah, just when it comes to being niche, just sort of be open, really. And the pandemic as well. I mean, for example, if you were to start up a digital marketing company and just go after aesthetics companies, or no, sorry, okay, let's say gyms, for example, better example, and then COVID hits, right, and all the gyms have to close, yeah, you straight away, your business is gone, right? Because I mean, what gyms are going to want to spend money with you unless they're pivoting? And some did, some did the online gym stuff, which, I mean, I can't get my head around. I mean, you just obviously just want to put YouTube on and follow them, rather than kind of following these kind of online gyms. But they did pivot and stuff. But ultimately, what I'm saying and where I'm going with this is, always keep your options open. Never go too niche. Never, unless you're in the field of medical. Like, for example, if you're a doctor, hey man, niche down on brains, right? Because that's where the money's at, or
Right.
hearts, or
Yeah.
yeah. So if you're going to go in one of those really, really specialist fields, that makes sense. But when it comes to marketing and stuff like that, you just want to keep your options open. And I think business as well, business in general. I mean, whatever you do, if you're selling cars, never say you're not going to sell wills as well. I mean, look at Elon Musk and stuff. They've got, Tesla does robots as well. It's not
Yeah.
just that it's just a car company. It's more of a robotics company, isn't it? So yeah.
Wow. Yeah, like that's really, really interesting, because I've seen different videos online about to niche or not to niche, right? And
Yeah, that is a question.
that is a question. And I guess, as you said, like there's pros and cons with all. I think when you niche, you're seen more as like a specialist in one specific area. But when you are kind of broad, like it's good in regards to you know, you obviously have a wider scope, right? Because there's obviously more businesses. And I actually looked at how many businesses there are in the UK. There's 5.6 million SMEs in the UK as of 2023. So the
Oh
number
wow.
was like super inflated, but you know, at the end
I
of the
think
day, go ahead.
yeah, I think SMEs. I think when it comes to like corporate startups, freelancers, independent, I think it brings it up a bit to about 77 million. Because I remember it was about, goodness me, it's probably about 20
I
years
think you meant
ago.
to say 7.7 million, right? As opposed to like 77 million.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, maybe. I just
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Go
not.
ahead.
I'm a marketing guy, not the numbers guy. Otherwise, I'd be an
Yeah.
accountant, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that would only make the argument stronger, though, right? If there's 77 million, and you know, if I probably did mean 7.7, so that makes it even smaller, you know. And then if you factor in all the you know, the industries, the verticals, the size of businesses, you know, kind of crunching the criteria down into your real sort of specific markets, you're dealing maybe with a couple 100,000 people, maybe, or maybe tens of thousands of people, maybe even hundreds, right? And that's not you know, gonna, you can't survive on that. You know, you can't have the view to um you know, let's say you're a wolf, right? Obviously big wolf marketing. And you know, and yeah, and you've just got like just one patch of grass, and that's all you can have. You know, you can feast on that yourself, right? But if you want to grow into, you know, a pack, and then, you know, kind of have offspring from that and ancestors, and eventually kind of fill the whole you know, the whole patch with, you know, packs and packs of wolves, right? If you've just got that one small bit of grass, might seem quite big, but you can't grow beyond that. So, you know, after then, you'll have to think, okay, goodness me, we might have to start eating trees, right?
Yeah.
I'm going
Yeah,
crazy with
shoot.
it, but do you see what I mean? So it's kind of or that's when you think, okay, let's go international, let's do what we're doing, let's give ourselves a few more options, a few more markets, and that's where a lot of companies go. And so I think when it does come to being really niche, maybe it's about being a sort of more broad. So for example, you know, if chiropractors are one of your, you know, is your specialist area, maybe just be about health, be a sort of a specialist health person. So that can encompass so many, you know, a couple different sectors, a few different verticals. You know, health can be everything from a sort of aesthetics to gyms. It can be fitness equipment. It can even be sort of, you know, fitness wear like Gymshark and all those kind of things, e-commerce, and you know, so yeah, be broader. You know, maybe be niche, but be broader. And if you can have a few sort of verticals where you're specialist, then that just adds value, really.
For sure. So like let's say for example, I'm a marketing agency, I approach you and I need your service. Like how exactly would that look? So obviously, you know, you explain the day rate already, you explain like, you know, the minimum, you know, like the minimum period, but you know, like what would I kind of get from that in regard to like KPIs? Like, is there a certain like target or KPI that you kind of stick to or that you work with in regards to we can book you this amount of meetings, or you know, this is how much we, you know, predict that you'll convert? Is it like any kind of KPI?
Yeah, so I mean, first of all, I mean, every kind of situation is different, every industry is different. And a marketing agency or telemarketing agency will go to you and they'll say, okay, so this is the price, this is the days, this is what you get. This is kind of,
Like
you
a
know,
one
what,
size fits all thing.
yeah, exactly, yeah, and this is what we sort of expect. Whereas with me, I say, hey, look, you know, what's your goal? What do you want? How many customers do you need? What's your conversion rate from lead to sale, right? Okay, so that means you need XYZ appointments, or that means you need XYZ leads. Okay, what do you charge? What's your price? And I see, first of all, from a kind of a moral
If they can
perspective,
afford it.
if they can afford it, if it's going to make sense, if it's going to offer them a return on investment, because ultimately, if it doesn't make sense. Because for me, I mean, a lot of people think, oh well, you know, if you're not in marketing, if someone says, hey, look, you know, they're going to do, you know, one off like 10 grand campaign with you, that's all good, right? But that doesn't make sense for me, because of my cost, you know, because of my client acquisition cost, and because we're very thorough with the companies that we work with. You know, it costs a lot to get good quality customers. So I need to make sure that when I get a customer and that I work with them, so there's not a bottleneck in sort of my process and my business. I need to make sure that you, as Mr. Customer, ultimately is right for me. And I know that sounds back to front, but really, if you're not, I shouldn't be working with you, you know. So I need to know that it makes sense for you and that it can really work with you, because ultimately my business thrives and my business grows, and my team's happy, I'm happy, everybody's happy, the client is ultimately happy, when you stay long term, because it's working for you and it's working for us. And if it's just a quick buck, which a lot of people kind of want to do, you know, especially these gurus, right? They're saying, "Hey, look, you can get a, you know, a 20 campaign, you know, a $20,000 campaign with this
Yeah.
big, you know, the big fish, the big whales, right? Those kind of things they're hooking you in with. Really, it's you know, yes, you know, there's a lot of money in marketing and stuff like that, but it makes sense to be, you know, a lot more focused on whether the client is right first for you. And actually, I do see that some of these girls do kind of use the illusion of, oh, hey, apply to be a client, you know, and that's clever. You know, that's clever.
Yeah.
That's kind of going where we go, but we legitimately go there. We don't say, hey, look, apply to be a client, but we kind of do the qualification, you know, with you when we're speaking to you on the phone, and we understand. And then we can say, okay, well, you know, it makes sense to do, you know, maybe a 3-month proof of concept trial with us, you know. So you kind of do you know, maybe sort of a 90-day campaign with us over the course of a couple months. We look at the results, we look at what we've created for you, what that means in terms of return on investment, and you know, we'll perhaps agree on some kind of set KPIs, some kind of, you know, deliverables. I mean, we don't tend to sort of, you know, set criteria that we will agree, you know, 100% agree to, because we don't know until we get going. We don't speak to the prospects, we don't perhaps know the market, we don't know the exact offering, and so before we do initial campaign, we really don't know what the results are going to be like. And I think any marketing agency, unless they've worked with someone who is exactly the same, and when I say exactly the same, and I mean there's probably a huge difference. I mean, if you take Nike and you take Adidas, if they've done a campaign for Adidas, they might know sort of what they might get for Nike, but then at the same time, there can be massive differences, right? You know, you've got people who are completely Adidas, and you get some people who are completely Nike, and they don't know, you know, they don't. There's no sort of bridge in the middle, and those audiences can be completely different, you know, for so many different reasons. So we never like to say, you know, it, like you said at the very beginning, it's not a one fit all for anybody, and there is it's a case of us getting to know you as a company, you getting to know us working with you, us understanding. But at the very beginning, the first thing we always do is just try to gauge whether it's going to, well, we think it's going to work for you, you know. And if we don't, we'll kind of, you know, we'll say, you know, I mean, you won't believe this, and it seems stupid, even when I say it out loud, but it makes sense overall and it's moral. Is sometimes if I think it's not going to work, I say, well, hey, I think digital marketing is going to work better for you. You know, I think it will make more sense if you do Google ads, or, you know, and that hurts to say that, right? But it's the right thing, because I just know, you know, that there's some, I'm trying to think of an example. So yeah, I mean, you know, there can be really niche, you know, thing. Going niche, right? If you get really niche, if we know that it's such a niche market, it's difficult to sell something that's really niche, because there's only a small market. So that's one thing, that would be one reason why I would say, hey, look, it's probably not going to work for you, but when it comes to something like digital marketing, you can be really niche and you can be cost effective, and digital gives you kind of more restraints to be able to say, okay, we're only going to go after these people, we can do it in a cost effective way. Whereas the high ticket stuff, where there's a bit more of an audience, or there's more sort of potential prospects, we can reach out to them and say, hey, this is who we are, this is what we do, can we get some information to you? We start to build a relationship. So yeah, so there's some instances where it doesn't work for people, and we try to basically not work with them. And like I say, it does sound counterintuitive or stupid, or not necessarily in line with what most people think business is about, which is making money. And it is. But if making money is your only number one, you're probably not going to be in business for a long time, because people see through that, people know that, and it just doesn't work. I mean, we've been going for almost a decade, and we've seen companies start and go and start and go and promise to be the best, and and we're here. We're here because we focus on the right things, and is every single customer we've ever worked with got the best results? Absolutely not, no. But so long as 99% are, then you're going in the right way, because it's never a one fits all. And again, probably for the fifth time I've gone on a massive
No,
tangent, but
no,
hey.
no, no, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Like I love it. And, I'm pretty sure that the audience would love it too. And then in regards to the onboarding process, right? Let's say, for example, I'm the marketing agency. I come on board now. Like, what does the onboarding process look like, from your end and then my end? Like, do I have to send you across, the CRM platform that I use? Do you have your own CRM platform? Like, how does it work in terms of compliance, in terms of GDPR? Like, these kind of questions are quite interesting too.
Yeah, really good question. So we try to keep it as simple as possible. So we pretty much prefer not to be working on a CRM system, because there's a bit of learning. There's there's a lot kind of involved with that, and different CRM systems have their own different issues. So we try to, unless it's really really long term, we try to stay on spreadsheets, for example, because it's really easy. It can import up into their CRM system, so long as we keep it within a certain template. When it comes to compliance, from a B2B perspective, and I'm a B2B expert, so I'm not B2C, so I can only speak about B2B, but we always reach out to customers with a business intent. So it's compliant in that respect. Their details are sourced, the data is GDPR compliant. When we reach out to them as well, if for any reason they don't want to be marketed to again, we note that down. We make sure that they're on no sort of don't call lists, and we make sure that all the compliance is absolutely down. With regards to how we set things up, we try to keep it as simple as possible for the for the company. So we have a briefing document which is actually about sort of 10 to 15 questions, and really they can write as much or as little as they like. And it's quite open-ended questions. So it's like who's your perfect customer? What's the sort of profile of them? What sort of competitors do you have? Sort of, is there any businesses you don't want to reach out to? How would you describe your offering in a few lines? For example. So these different types of questions, and what we're trying to understand is firstly sort of who they're marketing to and who those people are, so we can psychologically think about what's going to sell it to them, and understand the offering. The more high ticket is, the more sort of psychological it is as well. And so we need to think about already the challenges or the aspirations and goals of the prospects and what's important for them. So then we can build the pitch that way round, as opposed to kind of focus on, because one of the worst things that salespeople do is they say, hey, hi, I'm calling from XYZ. It does blah 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 blah, and people are just like, what? Hey, look, I don't want to listen to a sales call, right? Yeah, and that's what a lot of bad salespeople hear. Whereas if you say, "Oh, hi, John, yeah, my name's XYZ. Sorry, the reason I appreciate your time, by the way. The reason that I'm calling out is because a lot of sort of companies like yourself, they're finding at the moment, especially with the new legislation, blah blah blah, is they've got a problem with this. Is that something that you find? And because you're selling it from a challenge way, and straight away, bam, rapport, instant respect, because exactly something they're facing, right? It's topical, it's of the point. You're hitting the mark straight away. You're not wasting their time. There is a pricked up, and then if you have a name drop in there as well. Oh, we're working with XYZ. Oh, great. They want to know straight in. You're in there, right? Whereas if someone rings up, oh, hi, yeah, sorry, I'm calling from XYZ Mobile. We got the
Yeah.
new model, etc. Blah, blah. Unless you are like a fan of that cell phone company, right? Then you'll be like, oh, hey, yeah, listen, hey, I'm just gonna just let me wait. Yeah, you pitch to me. Tell me everything about that model, right? And tell me everything about that phone. And yeah, I'll probably buy from you, but that's like what, one in a million? Yeah.
Yeah.
So most bad salespeople, they think selling is selling. Selling, oddly, I know it sounds really strange, but selling is actually kind of building rapport first of all, and kind of relating, and then getting the offering and trying to make it align. So yeah, I mean, kind of went off on a
We
tangent,
have
but
two ears and one mouth for a reason, they say. I learned that in
exactive.
sales as well.
Yeah, 100%. And a lot of the time when you let people talk and you kind of give these open questions,
Yeah.
they tend to sell to themselves. So if you
Hmm.
give them an idea of what you're selling, they sometimes kind of loop it back around and they sell to themselves. And that's the craziest thing. So what we do when it comes to the briefing process, we give a big list of questions and we get as much information as we can. But then what we do is something again, which is completely different to a lot of telemarketing companies, and also we do it the right way round, is we make it as simple as possible, right? Again, forgive me because you're probably a lot younger than me. But there used to be an
How old do you
advert.
think I am, first of all?
I don't know. I don't
Take a
know.
guess. Free, free,
Um,
free, free lucky guesses.
do you know when people say that, yeah, you're either going to offend them one way or the other, right? Some people
It's
want to be
fine.
older, some people. I think you're in your 20s, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Like that's a hint. That's a hint. So because of that, I'm gonna take away one of the guesses. So you got two guesses now.
Okay.
Let's see
I'd
if you miss it.
say 26,
Close. So close. You got one more.
25.
Let's see. Ooh, you missed out
Oh,
on a million.
27.
You missed out on £1 million.
Ah,
I'm 27.
oh wow. Oh
But you was
goodness.
close. But yeah, no, keep
Close.
going about the about the ad. I just want to add some fun into the podcast. But yeah, you was talking about an ad.
So I was right. You're a little bit well, I say a little bit, a decade
Yeah.
younger than me. So hey, yeah, I was right there. But yeah, there used to be this thing called a Ronsil. Well, there probably still is, right? Like the Ronsil, it does what it says on the tin, and so that whole saying, "It does what it says on the tin," we need the pitch to be that. Because when we call through to somebody, you've probably heard it before, like in movies and stuff like that, and they call it the elevator pitch or the lift
Yeah.
pitch in the UK,
Yeah.
because you've got like 20 seconds, right, until you get to the next floor to catch their interest or not. So what we try to do, and this is where a lot of companies really kind of get confused and they kind of think they need to give you so much technical information where you don't. All you need to know is what problem does it solve? Or what does it align with that can help with a goal? So if it's a commercial cleaning company, for example, it might be that they've got a problem because I don't know. They might have a problem with the carpet. So for example, some commercial cleaning companies, they just do the cleaning, but they don't do like the deeper aspect. They don't do the carpet cleaning or rug cleaning, or they don't do the furniture. So to have a company, for example, that does everything is a real benefit. So, for example, if you were pitching commercial cleaning, for example, bit boring, but hey, it's it's a great industry, lots of money in it. You would say to them, hey, we're reaching out to companies like yourselves, and they're finding that they're having to use different cleaning companies to do different aspects of their clean. And we do everything. So we do, the deep clean, we do carpets, we do the overall clean. Would it make sense, to do, yeah, and you can kind of go on that, so straight away, it's really simple. It's, this is the reason why we're calling, this is what we do, and this is why. So this is either the challenge that we solve or the value that we add. And again, we've got to think from a psychological perspective. So what we try to do with the pitches is we try to keep a couple lines, and then and again, this is where a lot of companies don't understand. They might think they need to give us all the technical. This is the shampoo that we use in this rug and that rug. We don't need to know that, because if they ask technical questions, and even to some degree, if they've got major objections which have a sort of a technical element or some kind of additional knowledge needed, we can use that as an opportunity to close. So if they say, oh, actually, yeah, sorry, but do you do the XYZ clean? And if, for example, if we don't know that, we say, hey, look, actually, I'm more on the marketing side. That's a really good question. One of my colleagues, he's actually a technical expert. He deals with companies like you all the time. Can I book you in for sort of a 5-minute call to be able to answer that question? I won't waste any of your time. And he'll be able to help. You'll be able to give you pricing and answer anything you want. Straight away, you've closed, and that's an appointment. Because then when someone picks up the phone, a salesperson who's technical, on their side, managing director, depends, it might be the owner. They can ring up, they can say, "Hi, John. Hi, you spoke to my colleague." Yeah. And he says, "Oh, yeah, hopefully." He goes, "Oh, yeah, he's wonderful. Yeah, great guy, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so he said you've got this question, and let me answer that for you, blah, blah, blah." And then say, "Oh, actually, I'm in the area next week. I'd love to come and, kind of show you what we do, or, give you some pricing." And that's where, you straight away from just a really simple pitch, you've closed, you've got in there, it's the door opening scenario. We open the door, and then, to some degree they have to go thereafter and close it but we sort of advise around that. So if customers are kind of aren't sure how it works, then, we can explain. But yeah, so keeping it as simple as possible. And you know what? It's whatever marketing you do, and I mean, I'll probably go out there and say this as a sort of marketing expert, and then people will say, no, 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 we'll disagree. But as far as I'm concerned, as simple as you keep it, and there's probably one major sector that this doesn't kind of relate to, and that's IT, because IT security, you want it to seem as technical and like high tech as possible. So you want to, I mean, they invest millions in sort of marketing people to just make it seem complicated, more complicated than it is. So that's the one industry. But other than that, with everything, the more simple you keep it, the better, right? It goes for even things like Facebook advertising, having a nice simple image, a nice statement, and again, it's got to really show you why you're going to click, what's it mean to you, and that might be proof of social proof and things like that, and keeping it really simple. And again, even email, I am a lot, every single day, and you probably get this as well, and I mean everybody does, you get emails and you just look at it and you're just like, delete. You don't
Yeah.
even read it, and it's just, and that you almost feel bad at some point if you're going to stop yourself and you really think about it. You're thinking, hey, they've gone to such an extent to write a massive email. Whereas the ones that get me, and the ones that I get the most success with, because we do email marketing as well. It's like, "Hey, John, sorry, just reaching out. Just want 5 minutes of your time. It's about X, Y, Z." And obviously, the more kind of relative you can make it to them. So, like if you go on their website, for example, and it says in the news that they've just bought some, another company, you could write like a one-line email. "Hi, John, just saw your business bought XYZ. Congratulations. Just wonder if you got time for a chat." Like a one line is going to be better than, "Hi, John, I'm calling from, or I'm writing from XYZ company. What we do, we offer 1,000, and and then loads of bullet points, of all the sort of the technical aspect. You're just thinking,
Yeah.
what? No, and then maybe at the end they might say, "Got time for a call?" And
Yeah.
then what the worst thing that they do is they then follow up like every day with it's ultimately it's probably an automation. It's already kind of triggered. It's
Of
like really
course.
passive aggressive. "Did you not see my last email?"
Yeah.
"Oh, I'll try one more time," and all this kind of thing. And you're just thinking, what? Whereas simple works. If you and that goes emailing. I mean, I'm guessing, right? If you have an email, it's just one line, and it seems really personal to you, you're probably more likely to just like a couple lines back, like, "Hey," or maybe call them, or maybe look at it, because it doesn't look like a sales email.
Email. Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, it's about keeping it simple. It's the same with with sales. Again, if you call through and you just straight away you relate to the person, you say, "Hey, look, sorry, I thank you for your time. Just wondering, as a company, do you find this problem?" And if they're having that problem, hey, they want to talk about it. It's like it's going to be a problem that they're having. So straight away, you're in there straight away. So it's just asking the right questions, keeping it really simple. Whether someone who's new in sales will just ring up and just absolutely try and talk and talk and talk and just and they're just like, "Listen, sorry, I don't take sales calls. Sorry, send me an email." and
Yeah.
and you just get shut down. So a lot of new salespeople, they wonder why they're always being shut down. It's because they're not being simple. They're not, they're being too salesy, which sounds, really strange. But and I probably sound on here, I'm talking and talking and talking and talking, but on the phone, I'm different. I'll ask a question and then I'll listen to them.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then when I've
Hmm.
got the information that I need and they've given me that information, so I've got the intel, I can then wrap it up and kind of use all the blah 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 blah, blah at the very end to say, and then they can't disagree, and they go with it. They'll take the appointment, or they're interested. So yeah, again, probably the 10th time off on a
No, no,
massive
no,
tangent.
no, 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 no. Look, like I love it. We love it. Keep keep educating the the viewers, because at the end of the day, this channel is all about, helping upcoming entrepreneurs, or, entrepreneurs that are just on their journey already, that kind of want to get a little bit more of an insight behind entrepreneurship, and, maybe a specific industry, or how to do something in particular. So yeah, it's a lot of value that you've given in this video. So it's helped me to understand a little bit more about you, a little bit more about your business, and it will help all of the other audience to understand a little bit more about you, and a little bit more, about your business. And hopefully you even get some people reaching out to you that, want the service that you offer too. So I think I had like another question. I found you on YouTube. You done a channel 4 program, I mean, I suppose. So yeah, would you like to explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it was BBC One, but
All right.
it was called Call That Hard Work, which is kind of fits into calling and stuff. And the whole scenario of it was a bit of one of these kind of daytime sort of things. Yeah, a bit like Four in a Bed
Yeah.
and Come Dine with Me. In fact, it was actually
Was
the
you a lot
same sort of
younger
production.
back then as well, by the way?
Um, yeah, it was. I mean, goodness me, it was before the pandemic, so yeah, it was a good few years now. Yeah, slightly eaten a few more takeaways since then, unfortunately. Um, and yeah, but no, it was really good fun. I mean, it was literally just that. I mean, it was a bit. It's all tongue in cheek, really. You kind of get like a
A
bit
day in
of
the
an
life.
overview. Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of a bit of an overview of what it is. It's a bit tongue in cheek in the respect that it's not exactly like that. There's a bit of jokery and stuff like that, and we had kind of fun with it. But I mean, ultimately, I think they found it a lot more hard that telemarketing a lot more hard than being a vineyard manager and being a cleaner. And well, I mean all the jobs are difficult, right? I guess that's why they picked them all. But it was good fun. I really enjoyed it. I think I mean I took it as a bit of a joke, whereas I think I really liked the other two ladies that were part of the program, but I think they took it very, very serious. I think they took quite offense to some of the things that I said and stuff. But
I found it very, very funny. And I think, like like in the program, you kind of gave off to me anyway, like a young UK version of Jordan Belfort a little bit. That's what I
oh
like.
well, thank you.
That's what made me reach out to you, because I'm a big fan of Jordan Belfort. I'm a big fan of Wolf of Wall Street. That's actually, like one of my favorite movies. So, like to find somebody in the UK that's, well, that I viewed as similar. Maybe it's because, obviously you belong to a program and it's a little bit televised. But to me, I'm like, that's really interesting, because in the UK, what I've found is that we don't really have these kind of sales characters, and I've had this conversation with people so many times. But in America, you've got the Grant Cardones, you've got the Jordan
Yeah.
Belforts. Over here, you don't really have anyone that's kind of, carrying the sales sector like in that way, and I think
Mm.
over here, like I don't know. I just think it's a completely different mentality to entrepreneurship and to sales. In America, they tend to be a lot bigger, a lot more in your face, like a lot more kind of aggressive, but kind of like a little bit more fun with it, but like very kind of down your throat and direct. But in the UK, we like to kind of, you know, uh tread lightly, when it comes to sales or when it comes to entrepreneurship or anything.
Yeah, no, definitely. No, thank you for that likeness. I'll take that. What I was actually getting quite a lot of, and I think it might be somewhat down to where I'm from, actually from the same town as he was born, but is I was getting people saying, "Hey, Ricky Gervais."
Oh
I was like, "Oh my God,"
yeah.
And
I
in
like
fact, you
Ricky
know what?
Gervais.
Oh, he's amazing.
He
But
lives in
then
Islington now.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I think
Yeah.
he's up to his geographic area now
Yeah.
from Reading. Although Reading is very nice in some areas.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, I think that's right. I mean, in America, you've got all the big personalities, Grant Cardone, you've got like what Dan Locke, you've got all these people, and it's a completely different. I've got to be honest, it is completely different telesales in the UK to the US, and I can say that obviously we've got the agency there and the agency mentality here, and certainly even being British and calling there, you know, it's almost a different ball game completely. It's like playing football and basketball. You know, they both got balls, and you know, you've got team players and stuff, but it's a different, you know, it's a diff, you know, and it's, you know, it's a lot more prominent there, so people are a lot more kind of angry, you know, and they put the phone down a lot more and stuff like that. We're here. The great thing is we can be a lot more nice and a lot more apologetic, because, you know, we ring someone up and they say, hey, you know, I don't want a sales call, but thank you very much and have a lovely day. You know,
Yeah.
and it's so, you know, they're apologizing to you and they're saying, oh, well, you know, thank you, have a lovely day and a lovely life and all that, you know, this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Whereas in America, they have to be like, hey man, if you don't make 100 calls, you know, like they have to be
Yeah.
like that, because if
Great
they're
accent
not,
as well, by the way.
yeah, well,
He's been
if
practicing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. For the American calls, I put on the
Yeah.
American accent now. But it's, yeah, it is they have to be tough. Like they have to be tough, and you know, I mean, you have to be here. I mean, it's about numbers, but here, I think in the UK, we appreciate more consultative. You know, we appreciate more. You know, kind of getting straight to the point and things like that. Whereas in America, it's like they really want to be wined and dined. They really want to be like, hey, ma'am, how you doing today? You know, kind of like it's really like, you know, like if you're, you know, got the Southern drawl, whatever they say, you know, like Texans, you can use that charm, and you know, or if you know, they kind of they use all that because they have to, because you know, it's almost like as well, like if you go and apologies, I mean, I don't mean to offend people in hotels in England, for example, but in hospitality as well. Like you go to America, they're like, "Hey, ma'am, oh yeah, thank you very much. Have a great day. You know, like welcome here, and you know, like let me show you this." And whereas in the UK, it's like, "Oh, hello, you know, welcome. You know, if you need anything, you know, it's just not the same experience, right?" You know, so and it's the same with anything. They're bigger and better and kind of more kind of loud about everything in a good way, I think. It's just we're so different. I think we're obviously they're kind of their sister, aren't we? The UK is like the sister of the US, but yeah, things are different styles, and that's one good thing as well that we have as a benefit. A lot of people will say, oh well, yeah, I'll just get my telesales team to call America if we want to start make it in America. And yeah, I mean, if they got some really good salespeople that can sort of slightly adapt and stuff, they might start making routes into America. But in the most part, you need to know what people are like. You need to change the tonality, you need to change the pitch, you need to change the style. You might need to think slightly differently from a psychological perspective. You might think a bit differently. So yeah, I mean, and that's what we find we're really good at as well. And a lot of companies reach out to us. Is, for example, we get like Norwegian companies that want to start to sell into the UK, and so we understand that selling is different from territory to territory. So yeah, there's a big a lot of kind of gurus and a lot of people out there in sales. And the great thing is, I think we're slightly different to the UK. In America, there's the American dream, right? Yeah,
Right.
which
I actually
which
mentioned that
which
the other day, funny enough.
yeah, and the American dream is, I mean, it's very much like the UK. I mean, I completely believe in the American dream, but I've done it in the UK. It's the same kind of principle. It's being able to kind of, just be your own person, with being given nothing and just go and make it, and the world being,
The
your
oyster.
potential oyster. Yeah, exactly. And so they're a lot more prepped for that. They're a lot more kind of in line with that. Whereas here, it's, I don't know. I don't know that it's offensive or anything like that, but I think people are less entertained by sales. They
Yeah.
kind of we're just different. Just really different. But I think you're right. There needs to be somebody that can be that personality. I don't think it's myself. I don't kind of have the mind to do that. I think I'll leave it to one of the gurus. I'm sure there's probably a few English ones, right? To do that. But no, I mean, I'm passionate about sales, and I think that if you're from sales, if you're from marketing, I think people should have a voice and start channels and be gurus and stuff, because it's all one and the same, really, isn't it? You're kind of inspiring people, other people inspiring in you, and the thing that gets me, and this is the greatest thing, and it's a message that I've sort of seen sort of connoted a lot lately, is a lot of people are talking about the whole I can't remember what it's actually called, but them feeling kind of good enough to be what, doing what they're
Yeah.
doing. And really, when you look at it, I mean, all these gurus, all the people out there, even like the Jordan Petersons of the world, the psychology, the psychologist
I was
is
actually going
amazing.
to mention him as well, funny enough, because just like you, right? You were so like you dabbled in the music industry, right?
Mhm.
Similar to myself, and he actually put together a speech the other day, like just talking about, in particularly people that make, rap and hip hop music, that it takes a certain level of intellect to put words together and to rhyme them and then to do it on a beat. So he's like, it takes a certain level of intelligence to do that. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of drop that, yeah, drop that into the chat.
Yeah, no, he's amazing, and I think on a similar vein, he's sort of said about you get, especially where you get some kind of some like verticals of rap which is quite aggressive as well,
Yeah.
and he's saying that these are the people of the future because they've got that drive, they've got those words, they're leaders, and he's yeah, he's very much he speaks for the underdog sometimes,
Yeah.
where people who do perhaps watch the likes of Andrew Tate and things like that. I mean, I've watched the odd video. I think it's funny. I think it's a character. I mean,
Yeah,
you
he
can
is.
disagree and agree, and some of what he says is right, some is wrong. But he's done well out of it, right? Or well, perhaps not so lately, but I mean, I'm sure
Yeah.
he'll
He'll
ride the
bounce
wave and
back.
be okay.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, he's still got the nice watch and the nice
Yeah.
this and that and the
Yeah.
Bugatti, right?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think where I was kind of going with that is everything that everybody says, all the knowledge is just recycled.
Of
It's
course.
kind of a lot, and this is the thing with so many people doubting themselves and stuff like that. You get all the people that they look up to. Most of the things they're saying has been said before and before and before. And the coolest and craziest thing that I find is with I'm really into Stoicism.
Same.
Um,
I've got a
yeah.
whole book on it. It's the 365 meditations and
Okay.
yes, yeah, something about I think it's called Daily Stoic 365 meditations, but I've got that book actually.
Amazing. Yeah, no. So you've got even the likes of like, going back, with Roman emperors like Marcus Aurelius, with
Yeah.
with his book Meditations and things like that. You've got, I mean, I think this energy, there's something in us kind of, it's from the beginning of time. We think about the same things, we do the same things, and it's just, history repeating itself and repeating itself with new technology and new innovations in fashion and art and all these kind of things. But a lot of the principles and everything that people are doing and saying and teaching have all been said before. So why, a lot of people do, again, I think some people give too much emphasis to a lot of these gurus, like they invented it, right? They're just saying it in different words and speaking to
Repackaging it.
different people. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And so I think at the same time as well, I think it should offer inspiration to other people, younger people coming up thinking, can I do this? Can I do that? And I just say, if anybody else has done it, then you can do it. And so that probably is a good advert for the gurus and that. But yeah, there's a lot of opportunity out there, and so long as you're not too niche, I think you can make a success.
I love it. I love it. And that's, like a great way to kind of wrap up your words of wisdom, because that is, one of the questions that I would have asked you near the end as well. But just before we do wrap up, you mentioned sales and marketing, right? So you basically have a marketing agency that also deals with sales, right?
Mhm.
Obviously sales and marketing goes hand in hand, like you agree with me, you even mentioned it within this podcast, right? How would you define the difference between sales and the difference between marketing? Because my idea of marketing is it's like you have a fishing rod, right? You throw the fishing rod in the water and you hope that a fish grabs onto it, right? So you have to make that bait super appealing for a fish to grab on, and then you got to hope that a fish actually bites onto this bait. Whereas with sales, I feel like okay, the fish has been caught. Now it's about, selling to the fish, right? It's actually about now, what am I going to do with this fish? How am I going to turn this fish into food, for example? Or how am I going to package this fish and then sell it on? So that's my definition of the difference between sales and marketing, but obviously they both go hand in hand. But what would you kind of how would you define sales? How would you define marketing? And how would you say that they go hand in hand?
Yeah, I mean they're brother and sister. I mean 100%, or they're male and female. I mean they go together 100%. You can't really, I guess you can have one without the other, but I mean they work better together. It's like salt and pepper, right? But I would say that marketing in a nutshell is nurturing. It's everything that sales isn't. I mean, sales is just simply getting the yes, pretty much. It's everything that you do in a sort of tunnel vision of getting them over the line and getting them to say yes. Whereas marketing is all the nicery, it's the nurturing, it's working out who they are. It's kind of yeah, it's nurturing, and then sales is getting the yes, you know. And to be honest, we merge into two really. Big Wolf Marketing. Because telemarketing is marketing. You know, we're working out who they are, we're building that rapport, and you know, we're getting them to a stage, and we're nurturing. And then sales is, you know, is them going to the appointment, is them, you know, having the Zoom, is you know, sending the details over and getting them over the line, getting them to sign on the dotted line. But they're so sort of interwoven. You know, it's one hand holding the other type thing, you know. And I would say marketing isn't effective without sales. You know, you can have sales that's effective without you know, without marketing, because but normally it's because marketing's done a good job anyway. Like, you know, for example, you know, Coca-Cola or Pepsi, you know, that they can just focus on sales because, you know, because it's an established brand, so people just go to the shop automatically and they buy, and then that's just sales. But it's because marketing's done such a good job in the past, and or you know, everything that they're doing is
Yeah.
is the whole nurturing. And then there doesn't have to be the attachment where, you know, when it's business to business, you know, there normally is, you sort of take the customer through the whole journey and you handhold and you catch up, and there's all the sort of rapport building to get that sort of high you know, sort of the high ticket product or service over the line. But yeah, I mean, it's the same, you know, B2B, B2C. You know, marketing does one thing, sales does another. But I mean, they're so interwoven that, I mean, you could say one is the same and one is the other in many respects. But yeah, sometimes marketing people specifically, especially in the creative realms, they help to, sorry, they hate to be associated with sales. So yeah, but yeah, I mean, the good thing about marketing as well is it's just so broad, because marketing can just be creative. You know, you've got so many subdivisions in marketing, whereas sales is really just kind of sales. Although these
Yeah.
days it's broken into telesales, email sales, you know, like digital sales, you know. But yeah, so yeah, just to be really simple, I would say that, you know, marketing is the nurturing, and the sales is just getting the yes, you know.
That is a great way of you know, summarizing the two, and then obviously speaking about how they connect with one another. I think yeah, you know, I would like to see more of you online, because
Oh
like I
yeah.
really like the you know, like the value that you was coming out with, and I can actually see this being like super super valuable to so many other people, not just this podcast, but just the level of information that you have. And you know, me being a salesman that I am, I'm currently working with like a coach, right? So he actually coaches tech startups. So I'm helping him with his personal brand. So, you know, separately, that's something that we could, you know, talk about in regards to your brand, and you know, maybe even building a community for yourself to, you know, have people that want to learn about sales, or businesses that want to learn about sales, and then you can now package courses or even like, you know, tutorials on how to sell.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for. I'd love to kind of set up a kind of, you know, like a course around sales, or kind of to have some kind of legacy in terms of sales, because you know, sales is, you know, I love it and I hate it. You know,
Yeah.
you're always going to have bits you love and bits you don't. I'm passionate about it. You know, I've acquired kind of a lot of knowledge over the time, and it'd be great to hand it down and create some kind of legacy with it, being that it's the way that I go. You know, the way that I've kind of gone. I mean, you know, I'd love to have been a big pop star and had a different kind of legacy altogether. But yeah, I mean, it would it'd be great to kind of give back in that respect. And I'd never, I guess, do it in the vein of wanting to be just to kind of, you know, a lot of these gurus, they just want to profit off people, don't they? So I think, yeah, I think if I did kind of, you know, focus on my sort of personal brand in the future, or you know, the sort of course kind of stuff, it would just be to kind of give value back, and just, you know, I think it can support the business to some degree as well. You know, people see you as an expert, and you know, when they have a business or it grows, they come come to you. So yeah, no, definitely, yeah. I mean, I think people that do that are great, and I'm all for. I love YouTube. I mean, YouTube's my TV these days. You know,
Same.
I don't watch TV, so
Me neither. And
yeah.
I think the great thing about that as well is that it's very you know, like rewarding, and one of the highest human acts you could do is to inspire people, right? So
Mm.
as you said, right, you have like what a lot of people are doing now is they have their personal brand and then they have their actual business, and then they're basically putting out content through their personal brand. They're educating, and then that can also divert to their business as well over here. So they're kind of killing two birds with one stone. But it's just really scalable in terms of, you know, you have a few video courses created now, you know, that is like online real estate. That's always going to be there. That's something that you could always go on to sell. And then, you know, like in the future, say for example, like if you do want to step away from what you're doing, like if you want to get your company, you know, sold on, or, you know, if you want somebody to acquire it, at least you still have your personal brand. And then you can kind of focus more on, you know, like your personal brand, and then you can, you know, possibly become like a Brian Tracy one day when you're
Well,
older,
yeah.
because you know he's somebody that's still going. And I don't know how old he is. I'm pretty sure he's in like his 80s or something, but you know, he's someone that's still putting out information, that's still putting out courses, and I'm pretty sure when he goes now, you know, his academy, or his personal brand, you know, if you like to say, is still going to be something that will live on, and then he can have people in his family or, you know, close connections that could also still continue to sell and promote his brand even when he's, you know, moved on to the next role.
Yeah, no, definitely. So it's like Zig Ziglar as well, like a big sales
Yeah,
guy. He's
he's amazing.
amazing, and yeah, and you know, it kind of outlives you, you know, and it kind of goes on to inspire the next generation, and then people pick that up, and then they kind of you know, repackage it and everything. But yeah, no, definitely, yeah, definitely be, you know, keen to do that. Yeah,
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 because
definitely.
I think people need to look like what I've actually noticed is that people need to really learn from people that's done it before and that's actually doing it, right? Like you're somebody that's done it before, you're somebody that's actually doing it, you're somebody that can generally give somebody value and help somebody out, as opposed to, as you said, watching recycled videos on YouTube, writing down a few notes and then repackaging it yourself and, you know, branding yourself as some guru just in order to make sales off of people, and then they can't actually get any results out of it because all you've done is copied and pasted and you don't even really know what you're talking about. So I think that, yeah, like it would work perfectly for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think where it works really well is like, you know, the Alex Hormozis of the
Oh
world.
yeah, I
You know,
love
Alex.
Alex Hormo. I've got two of his books. I'm about to buy his third one whenever it drops.
Yeah, he's amazing. I mean, like, so what he does is he offers just like so much free
Value.
content.
Yep.
And then I guess where he makes the big money and it makes sense is at the very, very top end. So when he's kind of, they've gone through his funnel and they actually are sort of making big money and sort of that, he can then do the consultation, which, you know, you know, tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands, whatever he charges, you know, for
Hmm.
a bit of his time because he's got to where he is,
Yep.
you know, it makes sense, you know, that sort of commercial acquisition or that sort of transaction there makes sense, you know. So I think what he does is the right way of doing it. Whereas you get people that do it the other way around, don't they? They sort of try and charge, or they put a little bit of free stuff out there to kind of sort of advertise or sort of fakery, and then they try and sell straight away, and they don't really add value. Whereas he gives you all his value, or what you see is all his value, and then you know, you kind of progress and you get there, and then he does offer you value. So yeah, I think that's the right way of doing it. I think I guess you would call him a guru. I mean, you know, or an influencer or whatever, but he does it the right way, certainly.
I would call him an influential guru.
Yeah, and exactly, and when he's got the money to back it up as well, you know, like you
Yeah.
see him in front of like a big building, you know, with obviously all the brand and everything, and
Yeah.
you know, he's yeah, he kind of puts his money where his mouth is. You know, you sort of see, you know, you see it. He kind of, you know, he seems like you know, one of these other gurus, but you can see he is legit and the real deal is at the same time. So, and even I think, and I could be wrong, so if I am, I apologize, but I think he even at the beginning of his career, like went to the likes of Grant Cardone and you know,
Yeah.
you've got even property sort of mogul type guru people like Samuel Leeds, who's great.
Yeah,
You
over
know,
here.
he's
Yeah. I'm
yeah, and
actually going to a
he's
property summit on the weekend actually. I'm not I don't think
okay.
it's him, but it's another one of them from the UK.
Yes, and so you know he's amazing in many respects, and I think again he went to Grant Cardone and paid for his time, and so I don't think he even did a video about it, and so yeah, it does make sense, and like Grant Cardone to a degree. I mean, I know he's got a lot of sort of entry level products and things like that, but again, you know, when you're the real deal, like you know Grant Cardone is, I guess to a degree is, you know. you can kind of do it at all levels, and you can do the high consultation stuff. Whereas you get a lot of people that are sort of fake. But no, definitely, I think that's all about longevity, and I think the likes of Grant Cardone is gonna his name's gonna go on forever, isn't it? You know.
Definitely, definitely. And because you actually spoke about Alex Hormozy, which I'm actually happy you mentioned, he has a new platform that he's invested a lot of money into called School, like
Oh,
SKOOL.com.
yes,
I'm pretty
Sam
sure you've heard
Owens.
about
Is
it.
it Sam Owens? Is it Sam Owens? Which was like one of the original gurus, right, of the
Yeah,
marketing thing.
yeah.
So I think, yeah, no, that's that. So that's like a Zoom kind of, but it's like a
So
community
it's
thing.
yeah, exactly. So it's basically a community where, you could sell courses and just provide value. It's not even just about selling, but you could do like weekly calls or monthly calls with people in your community, and you could provide either free courses or like you could sell video courses, if you wanted to, but that would be a good place to kind of establish your
Mm.
community, like when it comes to actually transitioning into maybe like just selling information, selling courses, like this is yeah, like that's the platform really to be right now, because it's all about having a community, and in the community everyone can kind of help each other out, but then you also have the section where people can learn from you. So
Yeah, and I think the amazing thing is, again, I mean, whatever you think of Sam Ovens or whatever as a guru, I mean,
yeah,
I guess what he's done is exactly what we said before, to make the billions and to get to somewhere like, Microsoft or Amazon status, you've got to help even more people. So what he did, obviously, he was making millions and millions, with his consultancy business and his courses and everything. And then this kind of the school the thing, which I know
platform.
a little bit about, yeah, the platform now, I guess that is doing that. It's that next step to actually not just helping the people he's working with, but everybody's. But so he's doing that. So all to him, and the fact that Alex is on board with it now. No, that sounds amazing. I definitely have to check that out. I mean, for me as a kind of a coach or anything like that. I mean, I kind of I'm very focused on the business. I'm really kind of keen to work with people who are interested to kind of work with me, but I've never sort of advertised it as such. But I mean, if there is a need, and like there's people kind of watching these videos that are thinking, hey, I'd like to work with someone, reach out. So if I know there's a kind of like an interest out there, and then it might make me kind of open up to that. I think I've got a lot to say, but yeah, if there's a need, then I'm happy to kind of step up to that.
That's amazing. What I'll do after this podcast, I'll send you a link to like a WhatsApp community that I created. So it's for like social media, marketing agency owners, and also like SaaS startup owners as well. So I've created that community on WhatsApp. It's a growing one. Right now there's only about 30 plus members in there, but it's growing day by day. And yeah, like it's completely free. So like just to kind of keep in a loop and to kind of introduce yourself into that group, like you'll be surprised who would actually then like want to come to you for advice on sales.
Yeah, no, that'd be amazing. Yeah, fantastic. No, it sounds brilliant. Yeah, really
Thank
good.
you. Thank you. Thank you. And then just to wrap things up, what I usually do is I'm pretty sure that you've watched The Diary of a CEO, right? I mean, who hasn't?
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So I've actually taken like a formula from him, which is basically asking like a question for you to pass on to the next guest, right? Now there was actually a question asked for you as well from our
Okay.
previous guest, right? And the question is, what is one key lesson or insight that you've gained from a challenging experience in your career? What have you learned from it, and how has it affected your growth?
So, I mean, I would say, and it's probably very similar to a lot of people, obviously with what's just happened with the pandemic and everything. Um, you know, they say, and this is an old adage that people have said for a long time, and again, I'm kind of just regurgitating it, but it's relevant. Is prepare for a rainy day. I mean, one of the biggest things that you can do is, as a business person, there's multiple sort of streams of revenue that you need, that you have to sort of factor in. So, if you get to a certain point with your business, you need to save for VAT, because otherwise, you're going to get in in crap,
Trouble.
because yeah, if you start spending your VAT, then you're going to get you're owing it, and all, you get into a mess.
Messy.
So there's that. So you always need to save 20%. You need to factor in, obviously when you've got staff and stuff, you always have to factor that in. You really should be saving so you've got sort of like cash flow. So if something happened in the business, whether it's you're ill, someone's ill, the business has to close for a while or whatever. So you should be saving a percentage of that. You should be, saving a percentage to invest, in sort of, moderate sort of investments. Again, I'm not like an investment person, so I won't advise, but it is good to have investments. And then also, and I take this from Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad
He's
Poor Dad.
another legend. Yep. He's another legend.
Absolutely,
I've got a
yeah,
few of his
yeah.
books as well. I've got Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I've got what's it, Cash Flow Quadrant. I've got the Business School. But yeah, go on, carry on.
But one thing that he says is pay yourself first. And I mean, I take that concept not 100% to the line, because of course you need to pay the people that work for you first. That's the most important thing. Leaders eat last. There's another book that
Yep, I
but
know that book too.
but at the same time, yeah, well, there's so many great books out there. But
Yeah.
you do need to make sure that I mean, sometimes you might have invoices that you need to pay, for example, and you have to pay yourself first. A lot on invoices and things you get like 30 days, and you just so it's about the balance, getting it right. But if you're saving, because a lot of times when people, for example, if they're doing digital marketing and they're new to it, they're an entrepreneur, they're really motivated in sales, they start getting some success, is they get like 5 grand in, 10 grand in, 20 grand in, and they think, hey, do you know what, I'm going to buy myself a watch, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And they don't think about, you should be saving this, you should be doing that in the future, or at least, and I know I'm not one for finance, but I mean, if you want to get something, get it on finance, because at least you're cutting it down to what you're paying each month, right? You're not just doing the big installments and then setting yourself up for the full, right? So I'd say the biggest thing, and when I was younger, I'm dyslexic and everything like that, so I've never been great with numbers. I mean, I'm good now because you
You
have to
have to
be, right?
be.
Exactly. But that's one thing that I would say is money management, is just because you can have the best business in the world, but if you run it the wrong way, you're going to run it into the ground. You can be making millions, hundreds of thousands, whatever, right? Even billions. I mean, some of these massive companies, they run into the ground because someone's done something wrong at some point and they're swapping, and
Yeah.
or it's some kind of big pyramid scheme or something. But no,
Yeah.
so I'd say, if you're building something, build it the right way, build it, looking at the financials, and just make sure that you're saving. And and also a lot of people, really focus on how much should I be charging and pricing and everything like that. And so I think a great thing in line with that, is to look at what you need to earn and reverse engineer it as well. So that can help a lot of people when they're starting up as well. Certainly when they start to get the money in, and then they know how they need to assign it. So they think, okay, 20% to the VAT, this for maybe for tax, this for this for this. I need to invest a little bit. I need to, and then they start to realize really what they need to be earning, and it helps them move the benchmark and set goals, but also reverse engineer things so they can better reflect that in their pricing.
150%. Like that was, beautifully said and put together.
Oh, thank
So
you.
in regards, you're welcome. So in regards to the to the next guest, right? Like what question would you like to, put forward to them?
Oh, that's a difficult one. Yeah, no, I normally talk about things that I know and I can just, but when it's a question, oh wow, yeah, and I want to make this poignant, or try to in, oh, yeah, I don't know. It's I guess it would be similar. I mean, I think if you could make, I'd say the question would be something along the lines of, if you could kind of go back in time and do something slightly different within your sort of business journey, what would it be? And how do you think that would give you a different outcome? And how do you think it would change things today, or wouldn't it change things? But I guess if you could go, back and do things slightly different, what would that something be? And how would it sort of, change things really?
Okay,
That's probably that's
amazing.
probably probably same to the one that you sort of said to me, but in a different way. But
Yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. No, but look, like I like it, and what I'm gonna do is I've literally just wrote that out as you was mentioning it. So that's what I'm going to put forward to the next guest. But yeah, apart from that, like where could the people, find you, where could they connect with you?
So yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I'm not. massive on the socials. I mean, it's really just
He's not massive on the socials yet. He's not
yeah,
massive,
yeah.
but hopefully, like you'll see more of him. But yeah, Piers, I'll allow you to carry on.
Thanks. Yeah, no, definitely. So I would say LinkedIn is probably the best one. I don't really use kind of anything else as such. I mean, I do have, and you might actually find it interesting, as I've got a YouTube channel, the Business Book Review, and it's just me just taking in knowledge, and then I just do, very quick reviews of books, and it's just a business book review. It's very new, not many subscribers, like that. I just kind of, I do it because the reason that I do it is because I can go back to it to kind of get a summary of what I got from the book, and it also helps me to kind of regurgitate it to the point where I sort of understand it. So I kind of, I read books, I read them quite quickly. So I kind of scan them. I don't always, sometimes there'll be bits or chapters I don't want to read and don't read. And so I'll do, little book review. So I guess that's a good place to listen to. I mean, I guess it's more other people's wisdom. I haven't actually covered my own book, but yeah. So I guess people could check that out. And also, I've got a book on Amazon. It's called Think It, Pitch It, Sell It,
Nice.
which is cool. It's not like a factual book as such. It's more semi-autobiographical in the sense that it's a little bit about me and my business, but with a story of a client, and it's got embedded in that bits about how to sell and sort of bits of business advice. I love I forgot his name now. Oh goodness me, Robin Sharma. That's it. He
Yeah,
wrote
I like him.
the monk that sold his Ferrari. He also
Yeah,
wrote
that's
the
a good
5
book.
a.m. The 5 a.m. or
5 a.m.
4
morning, is
a.m.
it?
That's
Or
it. Yeah,
yeah,
the,
yeah,
the
yeah.
5 a.m. club or something.
Yep,
And so
that's it.
I love the style that he writes in. So he writes like a story. He generally always writes a story, but then he embeds all this wisdom and these ideas and concepts in that story. And so when I wrote the book, I mean, it was quite difficult for me because being dyslexic, although I'm very creative, I needed to sort of work out a structure. And so I wrote the book. I tried to use a sort of similar style to him. So I kind of used the story and then put bits in there. So that's another place that people can check out. And if they like it, let me know, because it'd be cool to know what people think. And likewise, if people have enjoyed this or found anything useful, leave a comment. It'd be great to see. And I do actually have Twitter, but I don't really use it very much. But it's Pierre Coombs, I think. Yeah, obviously I don't use it very much, so I can't remember. I think it's Pierre Coombs. So people can reach out to me that way as well. So yeah,
Amazing, amazing. So like this is your channel here, right?
yes, that's right. Yes, yeah.
So look, like it's just got another new subscriber. So there you go.
Oh, excellent, fantastic. Thank you very much.
Not to worry, not to worry. So yeah, guys, I just want to say I appreciate you staying till the end of the video. Please be sure to drop a like, to drop a comment, because that will help the algorithm, and that will also allow, Peer to come back to the comments and check in, what questions you have for him. And don't forget to subscribe. Obviously, definitely subscribe. But yeah, guys, that was that, and I will see you in the next video.